let it wash away. Tell me, did I lace you up?
All right, y'all, so I am waiting for my blog to finish uploading. I just finished editing. It feels like, girl, I've been at it all day. So I was like, let me go hang out with the bombshells until the vlog gets ready. If I sound like I'm whispering, it is because I am. Y'all, it is almost 12 midnight. So yeah, girl, I was listening to this girl, and she's just now getting back out on the dating scene, and she was like, is there anyone out there that is truly single? And y'all, that's something I'll be thinking about, because I just feel like, now I can say for myself, I'm truly single. Like, I'm not talking, texting, calling, sexting, FaceTiming, nothing, nobody, you know what I'm saying? But it does feel like guys are never really single. It's like they always have one in the chamber, you know? And I'm just kind of like, are men ever really single? Like, I know it was this one guy, and it was a lady that really liked him a lot. She would go out of her way and do all of these nice things for him and stuff like that. But he didn't like her like that, but he did not tell her. And y'all, it wasn't until he was like on the phone with one of his guy friends, and he was telling his guy friend like, yeah, you know, she, you know, took me out to somewhere. She had took him somewhere on this really nice trip, and she had really went all out for him, and he was like, you know, it was, everything was so nice. And then he was just like, but I don't want to be with her. You know, like the person he wanted to be with, girl, lived in Oklahoma. And it was just the fact of like, this woman is investing in you and doing all of this stuff. You don't even want her. And more than likely, the person that you want don't want you. You know what I'm saying? And that'd be another thing. That's how people just kind of, you know, end up with somebody. The only reason why you don't, you know, you ain't, not you, but you know, sometimes the only reason why people quote unquote we just ended up together, and the reason why is because the person they wanted didn't pick them, so they went and picked somebody else or whatever. And so it just seems like it should be so much easier than what it is. Men oftentimes overestimate their options, and what happens in the long run is that they end up being single because they think that the options online and on the dating websites translate into real life, and it doesn't. And so they'll go like on a website, and they'll like have all of these women that are interested in them on a website, but that doesn't translate into what's really happening, you know, out in the world or whatever. So yeah, but girl, I'm glad I got off of the apps, honey. The last time I was on the apps is a long time ago when we did the Bombshell dating series, y'all. That was years ago. And I was like, you know, like looking to meet people online, but girl, y'all, these dudes, they be lying. I mean, it's like a lot of times they lie anyway, but online, baby, they really be lying. Like, girl, one guy I met, this fool talking about he worked for the Secret Service. You are not supposed to, I would think that if you work for the Secret Service, you're not supposed to tell people that. That is why it's called a secret. You know what I'm saying? So he was just like, yeah, you know, I work for the Secret Service and all of this kind of stuff. And I'm just kind of like, you sure are forthcoming with that information to say that, you know, it's the Secret Service. Like, he ran his mouth entirely too much. And so, of course, I felt that was a lie, but I ended up, and then y'all, he would be lying about the dumbest shit. Like, he lied and said he was a vegetarian. like, why would you lie about being a vegetarian? I think like sometimes people just lie about stuff to make themselves seem a lot more interesting than what they really are. But anyway, I didn't like that, but so I peeped that he lied and said he was a vegetarian. And then that little situation was very short-lived. He and I, we went on one date, and when we went on the date, that's when I found out that this fool is not no goddamn vegetarian. I remember he told me, he was just like, yeah, you know, I turned my phone off at, I think he said he always turns his phone off at 11. And so I'm like, but you work for the Secret Service. It was very short-lived because it's like I peep game fairly quickly. And once I peep game, I just stop answering my phone. Just be single. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be out here on these dating websites and you're gonna be, you know, trying to talk to other women, understand you're gonna end up getting caught. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get caught. So if you're not happy, go heal. Work on your marriage or your relationship or whatever you got going on, or break up. Work on yourself and then get back out there dating. But that's too much like right.
Fuck depression, fuck stressing. You a badass bitch, you's a blessing. Fuck depression, fuck stressing. You's a badass bitch, you's a blessing. Now gonna eat 'em up. 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 Hey!
All right. This is how the hair comes out after you do the flexi rods. I wish that it would have been, I wish it would have been like a little bit, you know, curly, but that's okay. That's okay. It's not a big deal. But you know what? You know what? If I had one wish, honestly, in my Ray J voice, if I had one wish, girls, I honestly wish I would have known, or, you know, had more education about perimenopause. I really do. Like, I have suffered. That's why y'all really didn't see me a lot in the month of March. I was suffering, y'all. I was going through it. And it's like the remedies and everything that I did to kind of get myself back, I had to figure that stuff out on my own. And then, of course, I received an email from company MIDI Health, and after receiving information from them, you know, like they wanted to do a partnership with me or whatever. As I started to do more research about the company, that's when I found out one of the key components that people don't talk about when you're dealing with perimenopause is, even if you're an avid water drinker, you literally have to almost triple your water intake. And while I was drinking a lot of water, it just wasn't enough. And so I just felt like my body was just shutting down on me. I really did. I know one morning I woke up and my joints, like my arms, my knees, everything was, oh my God. Y'all, I could barely walk. I was in so much pain. And it was really, like, now that I look back, it was really due to being dehydrated. Like, if you drink, even if you drink like 64 ounces of water a day, you're probably going to need to double that. You know, you're going to have to probably drink 128 ounces a day. And so what I've done, or what I started doing, is just cutting anything out that wasn't either tea or water. And I did that for about 2 days straight. And then I slowly, you know, started to incorporate, you know, like electrolytes and stuff like that back into my diet, because even though electrolytes are good for dehydration, you still need good old H2O, period. And that was a problem. And, you know, I didn't have anyone to tell me that. I literally had to just figure that part out on my own. But if you're already dealing with perimenopause, Imagine waking up every single day for a whole month feeling like you have cramps, but your cycle never comes. Like every single day, I would wake up and I would have all the symptoms like breast tenderness, cramps, bloating, all of that. But, that would be it. And I just did not understand why I was in so much pain. And it was just something as simple as increasing your water intake. And I'm having this conversation because it's probably someone else out there like me that's suffering, and I just felt helpless. I really did. And, by me increasing my water intake, it's helped a lot. Another thing that I've noticed is, I used to be able to eat just eat stuff whatever I wanted, y'all, just a few months ago, and now I can't just eat whatever I want now. Also, like, I know in one blog I was telling you guys that I had gained weight, and of course I'm still trying to get that back under control. In that video where I was saying, like, at the time I had gotten up to 148 or 149, well, girl, right after that, I had put on more weight and I had gotten up to 155, and it was just like, where is this weight coming from? And, now that I've doubled my water intake, I'm down to 151 and I already feel different. And it's crazy. It's just like when you are short, I'm 5'3", and your body is used to being a certain weight. Like my body had been at 144 for a long time. It had been years, and then all of a sudden you go from 144 to 148 or 149, and you look up and you 155, and your body can't handle that quick weight loss. That quick weight gain. So yeah, your joints and stuff are gonna be hurting you. It's going to be painful to walk. You have a lot of inflammation. And I know, like, 155, that, like, doesn't sound like a lot of weight to a lot of people. But it all depends on your body composition. From my frame, it was a lot. It was a lot on my knees and on my back or whatever. And another thing, I was extremely, extremely fatigued. Just tired. And so what I would do, with the little energy that I did have, I would literally just try to get up and get as much stuff done as possible, like clean the house, wash, do everything that I possibly could do. I would cook, and I would make sure, like, whatever I cooked, I would have leftovers, because I wouldn't know how my body was going to respond the next day, and the next day I would be in so much pain, I wouldn't be able to get out of the bed or whatever. And so something as simple as just doubling my water intake has made a huge difference. I never ever want to feel like that again. I don't. So if there's anybody struggling and you've tried everything, and nothing has worked, try not just increasing your water, just maybe for about a week. If you can, drink as much water as you can. Or if you can't do that, if you are someone who needs coffee, I would just say, like, after you drink your coffee, drink a cup of water. And if you're someone who kind of needs, like, lemonade or stuff like that, make sure after everything you drink, chase it with a cup of water or a bottle of water, and you'll start to see a difference. And then the pounds start shedding, my waistline and stuff, like, I feel like that's, kind of getting back tight or whatever. Dehydration and your body going through changes, that is a deadly combination, girls. I just wish that, that this was a conversation that people were having more often, but it's not. It's just not something that people talk about, and hopefully this can become a normal conversation, because you can go to the doctor, and you know, if you have a doctor that just doesn't understand what you're going through or is not trying to understand what you're going through, girl, the only thing they can suggest is like a iron drip, you know, and they don't really even like doing that. Hey girls. Okay, y'all, I'm over here tidying up a little bit. But listen, so y'all, it is this whole conversation going on about people being prepared for interviews. So there was a lady, she's an executive, she works in tech, and she's a black lady, and she was saying how she wants to give black, you know, other black candidates the opportunities, but she was also saying like the preparation gap is so far. Like she was saying that a lot of times when she interviews black candidates, they are not as prepared as a lot of the other candidates. She also talked about how she thoroughly reviews the resumes. A lot of times she was saying that the resumes are not up to par. There are misspellings, and you know, she was saying how it's times where she'll conduct a interview and it'll be like a Skype interview, and the person will show, not Skype, I'm sorry, it will be a Zoom interview, and the person will show up with a do-rag on. She talked about how when she's asking questions about, you know, speak to some of the experiences you've had and some of the projects that you've partaken in, and what was your role and what were your duties, those questions, people are just not, you know, prepared to answer the questions. And she was just saying that she wants to hire more black candidates, but it's just not a lot of people that are prepared for the opportunities. She also talked about how a lot of times when they see that she's black, they immediately want to big cousin her, like, you know, talk to her like that. And then she was just saying, whether you like it or not, there's a certain language that goes with interviewing for corporate positions, and I 100% agree. Even if it's at the mercy of somebody calling you a little bit stuffy or rigid or whatever, you know, it's okay to show personality in job interviews, but you never want to get so comfortable where you're, you know, talking like you would talk to one of your friends. You always want to stay, you know, friendly. You want to also be able to navigate the conversation back to the interview, because that's another thing. Like I've noticed sometimes when people are even preparing for interviews, you know, they won't know how to answer certain questions, and then they tend to get a little bit too comfortable. And I'm like, you know, don't do that. Try to only answer the question, even if there's an uncomfortable pause or uncomfortable silence there. Answer the question and go on. Be a little bit personable and go, you know, and just leave it at that. Even if the interviewer is kind of getting off track a little bit, there is a way to steer them and bring them back, you know, to the interview or whatever. But yeah, people will homegirl you and they will homeboy you. From my experience of what I've seen, not even from somebody who does interview coaching or anything like that, just from my experiences working in corporate settings, I would see when people would come on job interviews, and guys, I hate to admit this, but there is a huge difference, and it could just be an age thing, but when younger black candidates would come in for the interview, they would just come in not dressed like they were going to an interview. It would literally just be, you're dressed like it's just a date, you know, at the park or whatever. She was saying about being prepared. I'm like, guys, we use YouTube for everything, but YouTube has so many interview tips and coaching, and you can go on there and get someone to, you know, give you suggestions on how to do mock interviews. Like that's what I used to do, you know. And then of course I found some resume, like a resume software that would help me interview, and then I just became really good at it. I'm just really good at interviewing and knowing how to show up and answer the questions. And you know, I know a lot of people be like, oh, I don't want to wear no stuffy suit, I'd be uncomfortable. But it's just like, it's worth the sacrifice. Even if you are gonna be uncomfortable, for a few minutes, you know, even if it's an hour or two, put that suit on, put those heels on, do what you have to do. You know, it's worth being uncomfortable for the amount of money you can make and just the opportunities and doors that will open. You know, you have to step outside of yourself. Now, I'm not saying go find a suit that's skin tight or whatever, but, you know, find something that's going to be flattering, but that's also going to be extremely professional, because how you show up is going to be, you know, that's really going to be contingent on how far you're going to go. You know, you have to be prepared, and you just can't show up looking fly. You got to be ready to answer those questions, and it's just best that you are over prepared. So coming in with a resume, making sure that there are no misspellings on your resume. Make sure you study your resume. We've talked about this before, but study your resume. Study it, so when they do ask you questions, you're able to just ramble off the top. You know what I'm saying? You're not a ramble, but you're able to just have the conversation off the top without, you know, kind of stuttering or anything, especially if you've added some things to your resume and you don't feel 100% confident about. You need to be studying the resume, making sure everything looks good. Run that resume through ChatGPT. If you have to, that's what you need to do. But I mean, to show up, just the idea that there is literally a whole debate online about people not taking their resumes to a job interview. And the debate that I witnessed, it was young Black people. And I'm like, why is that even a thing? Why is this even a discussion? Why are you not going to an interview without a resume? Why are you showing up to an interview with, you know, capris on and a polo and ballerina slippers? Why are you showing up to the interview with a do-rag on and you just finished smoking a cigarette right before the interview, and that's on you? You know what I'm saying? I just I will never ever understand it. In this day and age, listen, there was a guy, he's a pilot, and he's having a hard time getting a job. So if he's a pilot and he's not finding anything, what are the odds for everyone else that's out here still looking or whatever? So I don't know. I just feel like this is such an important conversation to have, because despite the fact that we have our laughs and, you know, the joking and stuff like that, I am very, very passionate when it comes to career stuff, because guys, I know firsthand it is going to be so important about how you show up, because the way that you show up on a job interview really is contingent on some of the things that, you know, can happen to you in the opportunity, you know, if you get the opportunity or whatever. Showing up the right way means that sometimes, and this has happened to me before, you know, having on a suit, having a portfolio, being prepared to answer the questions that need to be answered. I've interviewed with the company before and they were paying a certain amount of money, but I was able to get a little bit more just because I was prepared. Guys, they're looking at that. They're looking at how you show up, because they're looking at you as, you know, this is how you're going to represent this company. You know, you are a representative of the company, and if you don't show up looking the right way on the job interview, then how are you going to show up when you get the job? It is almost 2:00 in the morning. I don't know if y'all can see this, and typically I wouldn't even show nobody down to the pool, but girl, these people literally live right in front of the pool. They literally do this every single night. They come outside at about 1:00 in the morning and they stay outside till about 6 a.m. in the morning. So that means that the loud talking, the arguments, the debates, the podcasting, whatever they have going on, you're going to be a part of it, because it's like a courtyard over here. When you try to call like the, what's the name of that? You know how you call the 800 or the number for like to report them to like apartment security? We don't have apartment security, so literally nothing happens. And so it's like, what do you do? Do you call the cops? You know, I don't know what to do. I don't know what apartment number they stay in, but y'all, this has been going on for months and nobody seems to do anything. I don't even know if y'all can hear them, but girl, they are loud. And the later it gets, the louder they get.
Can't understand why we treat each other in this way. Taking up time with the silly, silly games we play. We've got our love, and no matter how it's said or done, we are one. No matter what we do, we are one. Our love will see us through, we are. And that's the way it is. Oh.
My Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie. She say she like my Dougie. I'm fresh, my Dougie. I'm fresh, my Dougie. I'm fresh. Yup, fly in them Dougie. My Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie. She say she like my Dougie. I'm fresh, my Dougie. I'm fresh, my Dougie. I'm fresh. Yup, fly in them.
Make some good cornbread, hey, now it's going to my head, hey, try to put it in my gut, hey, now it's going to my butt, hey. Okay. Hear me out. This cornbread's so good, baby. I'm about to call up my ancestors. Baby, this cornbread is so good. I made it last night just on a whim. Didn't necessarily or particularly have nothing to eat with it. But when I tell you it's so soft and buttery and good and moist and sweet. Oh my goodness. Pop goes the Weezer, cause the Weezer go pop. You know what? Bitch, what the fuck? What is wrong with me? Okay, let's get down to business. I need to go to the store. Y'all already know the drill. You know, I'm a Capricorn. Capricorns are very structured and routine based. We have the same routine. Ooh, not the cornbread going to my boobs and making my shirt open. But anyway, y'all see, girl, okay, I'm having some complications. But anyway, these buttons, see, they wasn't doing all of this before I ate that cornbread. But anyway, yeah, I need to go to the store. Like I was saying, Capricorns are innately creatures of habit. And yeah, so I need to do that. But listen, really quickly, girls, before we go in the car, I need you to know something. I need everybody down to the Bombshell Nation to listen up. Girls, do not ever feel bad when a guy does something for you. Now, I'm not saying don't be out here begging. I don't believe in that. You know, don't ask, but if they want to offer, okay, you know what? Let me redirect this. If they ask for something, you ask for something, but don't lead by asking. If somebody does something nice for you, as long as you haven't been misleading to them and it's something that they offer you and you need it or you want it, I would say take it. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because the other day when I was talking about just career stuff and being prepared, I also started thinking about the social currency that you as an attractive woman often offer. And just hear me out. Walk with me on this. So a lot of times when you are a very gorgeous woman, just your presence alone is enough for the man that you are accompanying, whether it be a business lunch, a casual outing. Men like to have validation based off of what they have on their arm, whether it's a watch, whether it's some type of fancy other piece of jewelry, or whether it is you. So if they have you on their arm, they get a level of social currency. That's why you hear women say stuff like, my boyfriend wants me to come to this business lunch. It's because they know that they gain and they garner favor by having a very beautiful woman with them. Even in work lunches, think about the times where you might have been at work, you was kind of, in between projects, you didn't have a lot going on, and maybe your manager asked you for a quick favor, like, hey, Rochelle, the guys from Chevron are here, can you run down and get them? Now, this wasn't anything demeaning on your position, but it was something that put you, gave them leverage, because your face is literally the first face that these guys see that's coming from these other companies that your company is trying to win a project from. And so it's like, that makes them look good. Think about the times where you might have gone to lunch and you know that y'all probably got a couple of things for free or whatever. It is simply because when you go out in the world and you are an attractive woman and you are on the arm of a man, that does garner additional favor for him. Or either just social currency, meaning like they're looking at him like, gosh, she's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? So don't ever feel bad about getting anything, whether it's a promotion at work. As long as you've been honest, you haven't been misleading, girl, take it. You know what I'm saying, baby? Because with these tariffs and with this possible recession coming, baby, take everything. You hear me? Right? Y'all remember when I told y'all that story when I was a little kid and I went home, and because this little boy at school, Jerry, he had offered me some cookies and I didn't take them Girl Scout cookies. And when I went home that afternoon. Now, mind you, I was in the second grade. I went home that afternoon and I went and I told my auntie, I was like, Auntie, this boy at school had offered me some cookies. And then she was just like, did you take them? And I was like, no. No, I said, I took one. And then she was just like, my auntie was like, give me your hand. And then she took her hand and she was just like, open your hand like this. So then I opened my hand like that. She was like, the next time you go to school, you open your hand like that as wide as you can. And if he offer you some more cookies, you take all of them. And so the next day when I went to school, Jerry came up to me. Y'all, Jerry was so cute. He was like a light-skinned boy with blonde hair and big green eyes. He was so cute or whatever. So girl, Jerry came up to me or whatever. And he was like, you want some cookies? And I was like, yeah. And so girl, I literally took my hand like she told me, my auntie told me, and I took them cookies, baby. I took all of them and I left him 3. Oh no, because the first day he offered me some, I took 3. I took only 3, and that's what I went home. I said I took 3. Then the next day when I went back to school, after I had got that little coaching session or whatever for my auntie, I had went back to school and I took all of them, baby. My hand was bigger than Shaquille O'Neal, baby. I was only in the 2nd grade, but I spread that hand out. It looked like a peacock tail. You hear me? So I spread my hand out. I swooped down like an eagle and I snatched all them hoes out there. And then after that, girl, I went home. So he had 3 cookies left after, Big Rock stepped in. After Big Rock stepped in, baby, he had 3 cookies left. So I went home and I was like, Amy. She was like, what's up? I was like, that boy offered me some cookies again. And then I was like, she was just like, so what you do? I said, I did exactly what you told me to do. I took all of them and I only left him 3. Y'all, my auntie started going crazy. She was just like, that's my niece. That's my niece. That's my motherfucking niece. Y'all, my auntie was... Y'all, she was going crazy or whatever. And then from then on, baby, that's when a pimp was born. That's the day a pimp was born. So yeah, girl, so don't ever feel bad about anybody, don't ever feel bad about someone offering you something. And if you've been honest or whatever, take it. But anyway, you know what? While I'm standing up here real quick, then I need to put my shoes on, then we need to get in the car, then I need to just run to the store, get some stuff real quick. Y'all, the other day, I was literally just sitting here thinking what made me turn into a hardened criminal when I was a kid. Y'all already know I was like a criminal. I turned into a criminal when I was in the 2nd grade. And I was listening to Funky Dineva, and he talked about the book fair is where hierarchy starts. Like if you're a kid and you go to a book fair and you don't have enough money, that's when all of the kids start to peep game, who the kids with the money, who have the money and who don't. And I was like, you know what? That's where it started. The book fair. So girl, I used to be wanting to have these Amelia Bedelia books. Y'all remember Amelia Bedelia? So I used to always want Amelia Bedelia books or whatever. And I wanted the entire series. But unfortunately, my mom, she had 3 girls. She worked 2 jobs and, things were really tight. So she couldn't really splurge like that or whatever. And so I was able to always rent the Amelia, not rent, but I was always able to check the Amelia Bedelia books out at the library. And y'all know I was an avid reader. You guys know that who've been here for a while. I was just a little nerd and I just love to read or whatever. So baby, I would be busting them books out. So they would let me check one out and then I would check the other one out. But I got really, really good at reading. The librarian was sneaking let me check 2 out at a time or whatever. So I had pretty much finished most of the books in the series or whatever, but I guess the next set of books was either checked out or they hadn't come in. And so I was just kind of waiting. So girl, I had got invited to a book fair after school when I was in the 2nd grade, and girl, they had every Amelia Bedelia book there was. And unfortunately, I think my mom had only gave me $5. My aunt had given me $2. So I only had $7 for the book fair. And so it's I wasn't really able to afford anything, because those Amelia Bedelia books or whatever, I think it was probably maybe a set and you could get 4 for $15, but you couldn't break the set or whatever. So y'all, that's where it started. So I had snuck and stole the whole Amelia Bedelia series of books or whatever, and then I got away with it, and that's where it started. That's where the life of a criminal started, girls, just because for the love of reading. So when I look back on my life and I think about I was a bad kid and I was, a bad girl in college or whatever, I really think about the fact that y'all, all of my what word am I looking for? Misfilings, if you will. It was really due to the betterment of my education. It was for educational purposes. It was because I did enjoy reading. It was for the love of books. You know what I'm saying? And even in college, I didn't just take that money that I would get and just go splurge on it or whatever. I would put some of it back into getting books and stuff like that or whatever. So don't be judging me, girl. Don't judge me, because, it was for a good cause.
You know the way I put my top, or how I lose my cool, or how I look at you, say, why? It ain't no fighting, no, I can't stop it, please stick around. Look the way I put my fist, or how I bust my hip for your affection, tryna be down, and no fighting, and no stopping, stick around. Wish I was the type of girl that you I'll be proud of boy, you know.
All right, girls. I'm just not calling y'all back. Girl, look at the camera. Look at the camera. Just, oh my gosh, y'all. Whew, it'd be a lot behind the scenes trying to set the camera up, the right lighting, and anyway, I'm over here stuttering. I'm flustered. It's been a long day, but that's okay. It's like after 1 o'clock in the morning. But y'all, this has been a very, very, very interesting week for me. I have gotten so many phone calls from old co-workers, people needing work advice. Y'all, it's getting real out there. I literally had yesterday one phone call from an engineer that I used to work with, and I talked to him for a little bit. He's actually an engineer that I helped. He was like a really quiet guy, and which is not really normal in the sector of engineering that I was in. They were used to like hell raisers. This guy was not a hell raiser. He was very even-tempered, and he would go to work, he would do his job. So even when he would get pissed off, you didn't really see a fluctuation in his temperament. He was just very even-tempered, which is a great quality to have. But unfortunately, my manager at the time was a good guy, but he was like kind of like a little bit of a hothead, and so he kind of held that quality against the more quiet coworker, and or the more quiet engineer, and as a result, this guy would never get opportunities, and he would be like, oh, he's too quiet, he wanted the guy to be like more vocal. So he looked at the guy as being a quiet, even-tempered guy as a weakness. So as he got ready to leave that role, another manager came in, and the new manager that came in, I just kind of went and talked to him about each engineer and just kind of explained how each engineer was. And I also let the new manager know, like, I want to see this guy, his name was Shannon. I was like, I want to see Shannon have more opportunities. I think that we should send him out on more projects. I think that he's ready. He's very even-tempered, and that's going to work out for us because we don't have to worry about him getting too emotional on these jobs and causing too much of an uproar. He's just going to be your guy that's going to go in there and do the job, and I think with a little bit of coaching on how to upsell a little bit will get him to where he needs to go. And y'all, that guy listened to me. He took my advice. So when Shannon called me yesterday, y'all, they didn't send Shannon to Germany. They didn't send him to Korea, to Japan. Like, his career really took off. And so he was just saying thank you. He was just like, well, I don't know exactly what you said, but it worked. And so anyway, he called me because the guy that I went and spoke to on his behalf to get him out in front of, bigger opportunities, he left the company. And when he left the company, he wanted Shannon to come with him. And so Shannon interviewed, and he was going to go to the company. He got an offer letter and everything, but Shannon took the offer letter and took it to someone in our because I don't work there anymore, obviously, but he took the offer letter to the current company that he works for, and they matched it, and he stayed there. And so he told me him and that manager, they're no longer on working terms. And I'm like, well, at least you got to see him for who he is, because you don't get to see somebody for who they are until you tell them no. When you're the yes man and everything is good and it's yes, 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 everything is okay, but tell somebody no, and that's who you get to see. So the next call that I got was from an old coworker, again, someone that I helped, and this particular ex-coworker, they're now having trouble at the job, and it's kind of like a little bit of bullying type of thing going on. And it was a situation where, she felt like she was being thrown under the bus. So what I gave her 2 pieces of advice. I was like, when they do it first, you do it worse. I'm going to repeat that. When they do it first, you do it worse. And what I mean by that is, if somebody is trying to throw you under the bus, they started it. They started it first. So you now have permission to do it worse. And that means document every single thing that happens. You really should be documenting it anyway. But from this incident on, document everything. Document everything. Start making plans. In addition to you making your plans, start trying to move about in the company, start looking for opportunities to move around. She kind of already holds the cards because, you know, this particular manager, you know, she doesn't have the best reputation at work. And I'm like, okay, she doesn't have the best reputation at work. And not only does she not have the best reputation at work, you have other people who want you on their team. So you need to use that as leverage. The second piece of advice that I gave her about the situation is, if you cannot convince them, you need to confuse them. You need to confuse the enemy. The enemy needs to be confused. So I need you to activate. So what I told her to do is, going forward, you know, only go so far in emails. Don't get to the point with emails when you have like a huge 80-page thread on one email. So what you want to do is basically, when you keep getting pushed back and you keep seeing that this person is making things a little bit more difficult for you, create a whole new email. That's what you do. So you create a whole new email and then you let that go for a little bit and create another one. So by you creating all of these emails, a person that operates in chaos and confusion, they're not going to be able to keep up with all of that. And typically they just take their hands off of it. Guys, I've used this strategy before and it does work, because a lot of times the managers are overwhelmed with a lot of shit. And sometimes you can confuse them so much they'll take their hands off, and then you get to kind of do what you need to do. But more importantly, the documentation. And so then I had that call. Then I got a call from someone else who had recently gotten laid off or whatever. So y'all, it's been a long day. So it was yesterday and today. So I think the last time we talked, I was supposed to be going to the grocery store. I did go to the grocery store, but when I got home, I started getting all those phone calls or whatever. And so yeah, oh, I'm tired. But yeah, girl, I think, like, y'all, in life in general, I don't ever believe in you starting nothing with nobody. I just don't believe in that. But I absolutely believe that you end it. And that's just the Capricorn way. You know, that's the Capricorn golden ticket. We don't start shit, but we absolutely finish it. And so if you're dealing with a situation at work, or just if you're a business owner or in your personal life, and somebody starts some shit with you, like I said, you know, they might have done it first, but you can do it worse. I'm gonna be honest, the worst it is ever gonna get for me is I'm just gonna pull back. And I know my pullback is a lot different, because when I'm involved, I'm fully invested. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get a Capricorn on your team, you win it every time. So I know that, and I know my value. I know the impact that I bring. I know the contributions that I bring. I know the influence that I bring in terms of being able to kind of, you know, take something from one thing and grow it into something else. I know my strengths. And so I'm like, okay, well, you want to play ball? So you let them do it first and you do it worse. Again, my worst is walking away. And that's just, to me, honestly, girl, that's the worst thing you really can do, is walk away. Like, that's been like my thing. Like, like I said, ain't gonna be too much hell raising. Ain't gonna be a whole bunch of arguing, fussing, fighting. I ain't doing none of that. Cause girl, I'm like, yeah, I be sleepy. I just be wanting to be down to the bed. You know what I'm saying? So anything that's gonna take my energy away, which typically arguing and all of that stuff does, I'm not gonna do any of that. But I'm gonna walk away.
My Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie. She say she like my Dougie. I'm fresh, my Dougie. I'm fresh, my Dougie. I'm fresh. Yup, fly in them Dougie. My Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie, my Dougie. She say she like my Dougie. I'm fresh, my Dougie. I'm fresh, my Dougie.